Hello boaters, welcome to Narrowboat Journeys. This is part 2 of my trip through Cropredy on the Oxford Canal. It was taken on the 6th of February 2019 and I've just left the CRT water point and boaters facilities and I'm heading towards Cropredy Lock. Now you have to look very closely through here because usually there'll be boats moored up on the right on the towpath side, and as you can see there's also boats on the left and it's extremely narrow. There won't be room for two boats to pass through here, so look ahead before you venture down this part. But the lock is not very far ahead. Immediately on the right there are some steps leading up to the village shop, which is very convenient, and on the left here, although you can't actually see it, is the Cropredy Canoe Club. They can be out in the hundreds when it's a nice day, so it's always quite a lot of water activity here. Approaching is a very narrow section of the canal. Now, normally when you get these narrow bits it looks like they're the remains of an old bridge, but in this case I'm really not sure what this is. But there's only room for one boat to squeeze through here. This trip is a very short trip, so I'm recording this in real time. I'm just going to go through Cropredy Lock and moor up just above it. There's visitor moorings, better visitor moorings than there are here. And I need to go to the post office briefly, that's all. Now, there used to be a proper post office in Cropredy, but that closed down some years ago, and now there's like a temporary pop-up post office which is located in a place called the Church Rooms, which are close to the church, but it's a bit hard to give you directions as to how to find it, and it's only open on Monday and Wednesday mornings from 9:30 till 1:30 in the afternoon, but it's okay for posting letters and things like that. Oh, one other thing, since my previous video going through Cropredy Part 1, I've learned that the village shop is open on a Sunday, but they close at 2:30. Of course I was there taking video at about 3 o'clock, so I missed it. At the end of this video I'll show you like some of the pubs and other things that you can find in the village of Cropredy, but also there was a little cafe which I wasn't able to video because I think there was a big van parked in front of it. So there's a cafe and tea room in Cropredy as well. I just thought it fair that I mention that because I don't actually video it. So here we are approaching Cropredy Lock. It's not a very big lock and it's quite pretty, especially if you view it from the bridge. You often see it photographed in Canal magazines and things like that. Tends to be, there's quite a lot of overhead power cables and things if I remember rightly, so that sort of spoils the photos a little bit, but it is a very pretty little lock. As I approach the lower lock gates, I can see that there's no water leaking out of the lock, and I can also see a bit of daylight through the gap in the middle, so that tells me that the lock is empty, so that makes life a bit easier. And there I go. The boat is out of gear and is drifting forward very slowly. So I know the lock is empty, so I can just run up and open the gates, making a death-defying leap as I leap across the gaping chasm that is certain death if I fall in. I've never actually fallen in doing this. It's always a possibility, especially in the winter when it's a bit wet and slippery. And then I walk down the other side and jump onto the boat again. Of course, if I do fall in jumping across the lock like that, it'll make great video. And assuming I survive, I mean, that would be really good. So that's the lock completed. Now there's good visitor moorings up here, but they're only 24 hours. But I'm going to moor up just past the lock landing because I need to go to the post office. I'm only going to stop here for 20 minutes, so I won't be letting the cats out. This will do for a few minutes whilst I go to the post office. It's often very busy here in the summer. You maybe have a job to get a mooring spot here. Now, if you cross the bridge by the lock, you can look up the street and there's the Red Lion pub. It's very close to the canal. It's very nice. There's two pubs in Cropredy. We've got the Red Lion and the Brasenose Arms, and they're both really good, I think. The village church is quite pretty as well. Not the best light for this though today. And there's the Brasenose Arms. It's a little bit further, but not far. It's still close to the canal. This is particularly popular with the local boaters, I think. And there again is the village shop. I'm just adding it again just because it's an important part of the village. And there's a little pathway that leads to the church, and it's called the Hellhole. It's an old medieval pathway apparently. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little trip through Cropredy. I hope to see you again in the next video, where my journey will continue.